you too.
Thank you for being here. Now, is it Desiree or Desiree?
Desiree.
Okay, good. That's what I figured. That's glad to hear. Hold on, let me close this real fast. Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. Thank you. All right. My husband's making some noise. All right, girl. So where are you located?
I am in Attleboro, Massachusetts. So I'm on the border of Mass and Rhode Island.
Okay, very cool. So you're on the East Coast. How long have you been in business before joining the bakery?
I was in business for about a little over 2 years. So I started my business 2 months before COVID. So January 2020.
Oh, yay.
Yeah. That was fun.
I hear you there. I started my business in 2008 during that Great Recession. So it's just kind of like, you know what? If you can make it through this, babe, you can make it through anything.
Absolutely.
So that's so fun. All right. So did you go through this? Oh, have I prepped you on any of these questions?
No. So I have no idea what I'm getting.
Me neither.
I'm ready though.
So did you go through this workshop, the Rolling in the Dough workshop?
I did.
You did? Did you go through it more than once?
No, I think I only went through it once.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experience joining the bakery. Like, what kind of prompted you to do it? And then how has it been? When did you join? How long have you been there?
I joined April of this year. So I've been in for about 5 months now.
Okay, cool. Yeah. What prompted you to do it?
So at the time, I was kind of struggling with keeping clients consistently. I had a lot of issues with clients booking and then like no showing, or they would call and then just all of a sudden ghost on me. So I about like 3 months of like this weird fluctuation, which is the first time I really experienced that in my business, even like through COVID. It wasn't really like that, surprisingly. So I had already had like systems in place, but they weren't designed by an interior designer. They were designed by like some other business coach that did with interior design. So I was like, you know what, this is a good time to like just hone in on my systems and figure out what I'm doing wrong while I have this weird like fluctuation in between clients. And so at that
breathing room,
I had also won a grant with Vistaprint. So I won like $10,000 with Vistaprint. So I was like, oh, I'll use some of this money to invest in my business.
That's cool.
Now, yeah. So it all just happened at the right time, honestly.
God kind of lined it up for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
That is very cool. Okay, so I know the biggest obstacle is usually financial, and you had gotten some money that you were able to turn around and invest. What would you tell people just about that investment in general, if they don't have a grant or a credit card that they can put it on, or cash just laying around?
Yeah, so I'm gonna rewind a little bit because I honestly had a lot of like, I was like a little bit of tension with like really big investments for a long time, mainly because I went from being in architecture school for so long and paying all this like huge student loan debt, still paying on the debt, honestly, and like being afraid to just continue to invest in myself. But I was at a point in my business at the time before I started my own business. I was working full time as a lighting designer, and I just felt so unfulfilled. And so I was like, if I don't make any changes now, then I'm never going to do it. And at the same time I started my business, my son was only 8 months old. So I was a new mom. And then I got laid off in March during that year. So it was like a crazy, crazy year. But at the same time, I was like, all right, I have to do something. And I know I love this. So I have to answer myself, or it's never going to really happen. So I just kept on, I'm really big on my faith. And so I really kept on praying about it. And everything just seemed to align at the right time. And so I will say that I was definitely uncomfortable making investments before, because I had made a lot of money. I had made a lot of investments in another coach before this. So I was already like afraid of making another investment. But at the same time, I was like, I'm tired of like seeing the clients go in and out and not knowing what I'm doing wrong. And so I was just confident that if I invested into myself and see how the first month goes, that, hey, maybe God will bring a client into my space where I can afford this. And it happened. Like a month later, I had a client, my biggest client actually to date, that I would have never taken on before because I didn't feel confident in myself to take on a client that large. But it just so happened that the money I got from that client, now I'm able to pay for the bakery. So like I said, everything just happens, happened right. And I would just say that if you are feeling that nudge that this is something that you need, or you that definitely think is for you, then just try, even see how it is for the first month and see if it's something that is really in alignment with what you're doing. Because the last thing you want to do is feel like you have this door open and not walk through it and have all this regret that you didn't take that leap on yourself.
I love that. Thank you. Boy, that's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. Y'all, I never know what I'm going to get in these conversations. So I'm always so, whew. Even though I know this shit works, whew.
Absolutely.
That is too fun. So let's talk about some of that confidence. You said that you wouldn't have had the confidence to take on this big client before. What have you taken from the bakery that has changed that state from insecurity or fear to I'm a badass, I'm a badass?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so at the time, I was one of those ones that kind of binged watched a lot of it. I didn't finish it, but because I manifested, like, not just that client, but there was also 2 other clients. So I was in the middle of the bakery and was like, oh, I can start implementing this while I'm literally in it. So crazy as that sounded, I was like, oh, well, this is a way of like how Michelle teaches, that she wants you to be able to implement it as you're doing it. And you know, it's easier for you to remember and to do it if you're actually just practicing it. Yeah, I started doing that. And then I felt like I had the community around me to make sure that I could be supported. And before, I didn't have interior designers around me. Like, I feel like I'm a little bit isolated in where I am because I'm in Massachusetts. It's a very small state, but a lot of times interior designers don't like to share. They don't like to network a lot. And I'm like the only minority woman that's out here. So I'm literally in the world by myself.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So that's a whole different discussion. I'm not gonna get into that, but like other women around me, and then also hearing that there were other moms around me too. Like, I'm a stay-at-home mom. I always been since I had my son. So being able to relate to so many other women that were going through that, I just felt like I had that support behind me. So if anything happened, I could always go back to my bakery ladies and like just reach out to them or whatever and get that support that I really needed. Like I said, I didn't know where else I could go, like in Mass that was around, or even New England. Like, I don't see a lot of other people that are doing what I'm doing. So I just felt like having that community really helped me get the confidence I needed to step into this role. And like, I do have a background in architecture, right? So I do have that degree, but I never actually worked in an interior design studio. So I always had this like stigma against me, like, oh my gosh, am I really gonna be like, am I gonna be like welcome in the community, in other words? Like, I don't have like the actual career hours behind me. But
isn't that a crazy story that we tell ourselves? I mean, it's real. It's real, but it's a crazy ass story.
Yes, it really is. And I was in the point where I was overly qualified, but I didn't see myself as that. I saw myself as like, oh my gosh, I can't do this because I didn't work in interior design before. So I didn't think I was worthy of, of being where I was.
Yeah, that's crazy, crazy, crazy. I love hearing that. And thank you for your authenticity and transparency and vulnerability there, because I think that is something that we've all felt. Sometimes we don't even know how to put it into words, but it's true. And you've got a whole bunch of people here from your neck of the woods. You just made some friends.
I think so,
yeah. So that is fun. And holy cow, you did that as a stay-at-home mom.
Yeah,
I'm exhausted just thinking about that.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah. Now, how old is your son now?
He is 3.5. So he just started school last week.
Yes. Okay, so I have a 4-year-old, and just the ball of energy. The ball of energy.
Yeah, I know, it is a lot.
I talked to somebody this morning. She's got 5 kids, and she's like, "Is the bakery going to work for me?" I was like, "Girl, you need this so that you can actually."
Yeah, she needs it. Yeah, absolutely.
5 children. Oh my gosh. So is there anybody that you would say that this program is not for?
Yeah, I would say this program is not for you if you're not willing to have an open mind and be critical on what you're currently doing. Because I don't think that you can do anything, honestly, if you're just closed into your way. I think you have to be very open to learning and wanting to see things in different perspectives. So if you are into your own routine, you're happy with what you're doing, then I don't feel like there's no need to really try
Yeah.
anything else. But if you are someone that is looking for a fresh start and you want to revisit things, or you think that you're struggling in your business in anywhere in your business, then I think it's definitely for you.
Awesome. Awesome. There's another question I was going to ask. So you said you binge watched. So you
I binge watched, yeah. I binge watched like the first 2 sections.
Yes.
And then I'm back to rewatching the second section with all of like the deep content. I've never gotten to the frosting part.
There's a lot there. Do you think you're
a
going to
lot.
get through it in a year?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
I want to apply for the designation. So I plan on being in like a month and then just going back and rewatching whatever I need to.
Yeah, that makes a difference.
Yeah.
Do you know, okay, so you said you're going back through module 2 now. So do you know who your ideal client is?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I actually knew, so I had an idea what my ideal client was, but actually when I started my business, because the coach helped me with that. But the issue is that it was still too general.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know that it was that general until I started having the issues I had this year. And then I was like taking on all the jobs thinking that I needed the money kind of thing. But then I ran myself to the ground. So I ended up just like, it just wasn't worth it. And I saw that I had so many clients that maybe fit some of the checkbox, but like the ones that I felt the most fulfilled with were the ones that I knew I had hit all of the ones that I was looking for. So the bakery really helped me just hone in a lot more onto my ideal client. And I've had her showed up more frequently actually than I've had before the bakery. So
good. Does she have a name?
Help me through that.
Does she have a name?
No, she doesn't really have, she does not have a name. So I have not assigned her.
Yeah, let's find her a name this year.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's because it's easy, because it just kind of, it makes it a little bit more fun when you start talking to her.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah.
And also keep in mind, and this is just a side note, that your ideal client, as you grow and evolve, so will she. So if you have, Susie Q right now, she will grow with you until you outgrow her, and then you're going to find another one. So that exercise, you'll want to keep going through every year as you're developing, and then it'll start being every other year, and then maybe every 3rd year and stuff like that. So
okay, good thing you said that, because I still would have been going off of the old one.
Oh yeah, no, you're good. So how have the systems, I actually wrote this question down. How have the systems that you've implemented changed your business?
Oh my gosh. So the first thing was I wasn't good at presenting contracts or my scope of work. And I think the reason why I wasn't really good at it was because I had this fear that they were going to see it all and like just run away.
I know that feeling.
Yeah, because it's like almost like it's like they see it all and they're like, oh my gosh, this is too much. This is more work than I thought it was. And then that's just the fear that I had, honestly. But then the more that I realized that they actually wanted that in the beginning, the more that I went to meetings with more confidence. And last week I had a meeting with a lawyer for the very first time as my client. And I will say I was a little nervous about it, because I was like, okay, I'm now presented to a lawyer, my scope of work and like a contract, like this is her world. And she told me, she was like, I am blown away by like your contract, your process. It was like a relief for me, because I was like, thank God, because I still had that fear a little bit, even like 4 months into the bakery, I still had that little fear. So
it's still new. It's still new.
Yeah,
but it goes back to professionals are the ones that hire us, and they expect us to show up as a professional.
So true. Yeah.
It changes everything when you walk in with a swagger.
Yeah, absolutely. And they can feel that energy coming in too. They already know off the bat, if you're going to be all over the place, they're not going to feel trusted in you to do the project. And always make clients, as soon as they hop on board with me, they know exactly what they're going to expect. And I walk them through everything, and it just gives them another level of trust. So it's awesome.
You touched on this. When you got into the bakery, you said that you were like, okay, God, bring me what I need. Do you feel like your energy, as you were ingesting the content, did you feel like your energy and your confidence went up in that first 30 days and kind of changed your vibe, for lack of a better term?
Yeah, absolutely. Because originally I didn't know if I was going to invest fully into the bakery, honestly.
Good.
Test Michelle out and see how good she really is.
Yeah. Is she full of shit or is she for real?
Exactly.
I get
So after the first month, I remember reaching out to Haley and I was like, so I'm gonna keep going.
And here you
Yeah.
are 4 months later.
Yeah, here I am. I'm still going. And
That's cool.
Yeah, I definitely love that I made the investment in the beginning, that I'm continuing to go forward, because every day I'm learning something different. And even in our weekly calls, like I'm still learning something different. So there's a lot of content in the bakery. Like I feel like it's so hard to cover it all still in the classes. Like there's still so much to learn, and it's always changing. So
but for that price point, there should be a lot.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you should get your money's worth and whatnot. But it also makes you show up though for yourself. I feel like if the investment is not really that big, like you can always push it to the side and be like, oh, I only spent like $50 or whatever on this. So I have to show up. But when you know you invested that much money to something, like it's like your accountability to make sure you show up for yourself every day. So I think
that makes sense.
Is needed where it needs to be.
Yeah, because it's the same thing that I have to practice what I preach. You know what? Our clients have to have skin in the game. You have to have skin in the game in order to show up for yourself, to take all of this content in. Yeah. Do you feel like you are an exception to the rule, or do you feel like the other bakers are still having success as well? Because if I was sitting out there in the audience, I'd be like, oh yeah, Michelle's probably only taken her star students up and put them in camera. All the other ones are still struggling. What has been your perspective in the trenches that I don't hear about otherwise?
Oh man, I don't think I'm necessarily any different than any of the other bakeries. I think we all have this, a similar struggle. And I think that whenever we put something in our group, like we all relate to it. So no matter where you are in a territory, like it's like we all seem to have the same thing that shows up. So yeah, I don't think necessarily anything that I'm doing different or any other baker is doing differently. I think it is for anyone that truly wants to do the work. But yeah, I would say, but that community has helped me through some tough times.
Oh, good. I love hearing that.
Yeah, especially when you're just second guessing yourself a lot. Like I said, I'm only 2 years into my business. Like I've been in a firm or anything like that. Like I'm still a baby in this business.
Yeah.
So
well, sometimes I feel like a baby in the business. It's always changing. So
yeah,
that's why I have to keep my design firm, is to stay relevant.
You
know, because
I feel that.
Changing on a dime. Changing on a dime.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
Anything else you would want to tell anybody who's watching? I'm gonna bring you know Sarah, our social media coach.
Yes, hi Sarah.
So let's talk about. So Sarah, don't watch. Desiree, let's talk about the master coaches. Do you like them?
Oh, I love them, especially Sarah, because so even though so I run everything, which is my issue. Like I have my hands in everything too much. And I run my social like myself. So like whenever Sarah went on, I would make sure I hopped on, because I still feel like I'm struggling a little bit with like social and how for that, because I feel like there's a stigma a little bit with interior design. Like some interior designs want to show up and just show the pretty pictures, and other worlds where they're showing everything. And I'm like a mixture of the two. I'm technically like an introvert, even though I don't seem like I'm an introvert.
Oh, me too, girl. Me too. Like
I've worked very hard to like get out of that. But I have trouble sometimes showing up, like showing my behind the scenes or being on camera, because I still have that stigma a little bit with myself. So I think that Sarah has definitely helped me to like understand what I need to really do on social media and to still stay professional without being too personal, I guess.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. So you're not just like a personal brand, but you do know you are professional, you are a business.
Yeah. I don't need to know all the things. And then eventually you're going to have enough, you're going to need the time and outsource.
Yeah, exactly. And I outsource my family for our staging, but that's much it. Like my staging and my shopping is done with my family, but the other stuff, like I don't have an assistant. I don't have anyone running my socials. Like that stuff I need to outsource.
Yeah.
Like my web developer for the first time since the bakery, actually 2 months ago, I outsourced developer. Thank God. So well, I'm starting to get there.
Have you outsourced your accounting?
Yes, I've outsourced
good.
My lawyer has outsourced that. So I'm on track a little bit. I just need someone to like, I need to duplicate myself though, so that I can have another designer handle some of my designs and some of my admin stuff. So I'm not every single thing.
It's life-changing, life-changing. Okay, so we've got Sarah Wright, who handles our social media and content strategy. And then we had Maureen Wenge and Nicolette von Reich talking about branding, luxury branding and stuff like that. And then Shamin, have you seen Shamin with the financials?
No, I don't think
She's only done one. Check that one out. Go watch the replay. She's off the chains, amazing.
Okay.
So just things along that line. And then every once in a while I teach too. So, and then we've got Debbie and Megan once a month as well.
They're awesome. I love the Q&A.
Yeah. Blessed with that group. Well, good. Then if there's anything else that you want to leave the audience with, I'm going to hop over to Sarah in just a couple minutes. What do you have to say to sign off there? My little introvert friend.
The only thing actually that just popped into my head was I had a very interesting experience last week where when you start investing into yourself, you start realizing that you're tempted to do other things. Like I've been tempted to go back into corporate world, working in like firms with like higher salaries, because now they see my resume and they're like, oh, now like she actually qualifies, whatever. So recently I had a job offer. I didn't apply for the job, but they like reached out to me because they saw my resume somewhere floating from probably like COVID days, I would think. They reached out to me and they wanted to offer me a job in this architecture firm doing like project management stuff. And I was like, the salary was very nice. And don't get me wrong, like I was like, wow, this hasn't ever been offered. But you start to see things like that pop into your life when you start like doing the thing that you're always tempted to go back, what you like feel like you would be comfortable with going back to, even if it may not be a calling that you're meant for. So this lady that reached out to me, I told her, I was like, you know, I'm not looking for work right now, but I would be open to like meeting you guys because you're an architecture firm that's in my area and I don't know a lot of architects in this area. And I got the most cold reply like I could ever get from anyone. Like I was like, honestly, I thought I was going out of my way to like say, let's network and I can give you some work kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so honestly, like, I don't feel like I would have, like, it wouldn't have clicked in my head that it was cold before. So I feel like it's a confidence thing that I now have in myself. Like, I feel like I'm doing a service to you versus like I need to like do something. And I feel like that's something that the bakery has taught me is that and my truth and knowing that I'm doing the right thing, because things like that is going to happen and you're going to like reach out, you're going to find people that are going to do things like that, and just know that you're doing the right thing.
Well, and thank God you didn't want to go work for them because they were jerks.
They were jerks, right?
Darlene,
thank God, dodge that bullet.
Right? Darlene dropped a quote. This is never apologize for burning too brightly or collapsing into yourself every night. That's how galaxies are made.
I love that.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, I am going to copy that and put that on my desktop.
There you go. Desiree the Galaxy.